Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in this video, I'm going to show the 3 fights that you have to do before taking on the final boss fight in order to unlock Jade as a 5-star. Now if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. Now note this will be a video, I'm guessing 2 out of 4. So the 3rd video will be the boss fight, and then the 4th video will be the rest of the story walkthrough and conclusion as well. So if you didn't catch the last video I put up, at the very end of that interaction, it does tell you where you have to go after that in order to proceed with the story. So there are 3 islands that you have to visit, and it doesn't matter which order, but in this case, we're going to go with Nova first. And each of these beasts, aka Silver Afterglows, do have varying weaknesses and attacks as well. Now, I wouldn't consider this first one very difficult. Doesn't look like there's anything special about this particular boss. No weaknesses or resistances that I can see. That being said, the first AoE was fairly strong, and so, I mean, if you aren't very careful, you can still get wiped out. But you can see that even without an AF, with my Garyu Antiquity exploring team, you are able to take that down in just a couple of turns. I still recommend having, for example, a healer, and being that the first hit was an AoE, look to be a physical attack, make sure you do put up your shields or buffs and debuffs for your team. Okay, so that wraps up the first battle, and let's head over to the other 2 islands as mentioned there. So we're going over to Lolodome. Now this one is probably the more challenging of the 3 fights, and so I actually had to restart this a couple of times just to make sure I got things right. First of all, I mean, they're going to be talking a little bit, but I would highly recommend bringing an all-fire team to this particular fight. And the reason for that is this particular beast that shows up is weak to fire, and it actually splits into 3. And one thing you'll need to note, the one in the very far back is the one you'll be targeting, and if you don't kill it and its clones all in one go, it'll regenerate those clones. So either use a large AF, for example, or for example, if you do have AS Garyu, just use a zone, an established zone, or Hardy, for example, and just lay waste to the boss. So the 2 clones in front don't have as much HP as the back one. I actually didn't even use the zone because honestly wasn't really prepared for this fight, to be honest. That being said, we can use Infernal, and you can see with just a couple of hits, the front clone died. You can see also all its attacks are wind based and physical based. So if you have wind shield, or you can cast burning shield, I think Garyu and AS Garyu have access to that. Or if you want to use Miyu, for example, or any other sort of Aurora Force kind of type shield, you can do that. In my case, I do have Seti, and so we started with Vigilant Lance anyways. Being that you're targeting the far back one, it still gives you a type resistance to all your party members by 30%, I believe. It's either 30 or 35. Anyways, you can see that even though we concentrated on the far back Silver Afterglow, it still took a few hits, and so let's just use one large AF and end the battle here. Note that you do have to end all 3 units at the same time, so I used Inferno to do a bunch of damage. You can also see Calamity, after stacking a few of those Celestial Sabers, was enough to deal over 1 million damage to each of those, and that battle is wrapped up rather quickly. I do think if you have a half-bar AF and run AS Garyu and target each of those in turn with some AoEs, I think that'll be fine. Now the problem with using AS Garyu, of course, is that AS Garyu doesn't have any AoEs. So just note that you'll have to play around with your own strategy and see if AS Garyu and Zone is enough to wipe out all 3 mobs. Now, for all your troubles, for the first 2 of these fights, and the last one as well, you do get another silver badge and a few Chronos Stones. Not too bad. I will show my Grasta setup and my move set, my weapon setup. I'm sure you've seen them many times from all my other battles. I will say that you can definitely vary your team and use any which mismatch of characters. I think Aldo, for example, with his AoE should be fine, and I realize he has been power crept, but he's still pretty viable. Gildna, for example, is quite useful in this battle and the upcoming battle for the final fight. I will show that, of course, in a separate video. Garyu, of course, awesome in all forms, AS and regular. It's actually amazing that the devs or WFS does allow us to have so many free units that are so powerful. And there you go, Xion. Okay, so the last battle is originating in Last Island. This one's actually fairly simple. So again, we're just visiting this island, making sure there's no monsters here, and we're going to make sure we eliminate any threats here in order to protect the populace. In this case, you really want to bring an all-water team. This enemy is actually weak to water, and so not much to say, honestly. If you have a water zone team or even just regular units with water, I think this battle will end really quickly. I was actually surprised how simple this one was. So let's just start it up here. We're going to start with Epic Tail. Note that I don't even have an AF bar. Just walked in blind, only because I just kind of wanted to try it out. Just make sure the weaknesses, and being that it's a fiery kind of firebomb, you can definitely tell that it's going to be weak to water since most firebombs are fire-based, and you can see those fire-based magical attacks. With Water Zone in play, you're reducing your fire damage by 50% on yourself, and of course, AS Annabelle does give you a tight shield at the end of each turn, so you're only taking a few hundred damage every turn. Note that Leclerc does get a little bit confused from one of the attacks, but still, not much there. And here's my setup for my water team. So hopefully you guys are progressing very quickly through this content. I haven't started the new Western continent yet. I'll probably do that tomorrow. As for now, I'll probably finish up this video as well as the final conclusion to Jade's quest, and then I'll put that up shortly. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.